The war room was dark, lit only by glowing blue screens. Maps of a ruined planet floated in the air like ghosts. Around the long steel table, alien soldiers sat in silence. Their armor gleamed under the cold lights, but their faces showed unease. No one spoke until the heavy doors slid open and their commander stepped inside. "Soldiers," the commander began, his deep voice echoing through the chamber. "You have been chosen for a high-value extraction. The target is alive. The target must be retrieved." The room shifted. Every alien straightened in their seat, but none looked eager. A few exchanged glances. One soldier's hands shook as he tried to tighten the straps on his armor. Another shifted his eyes toward the floor as if wishing to be invisible. The commander noticed. His black eyes narrowed. "Is there a problem?" he demanded. No one answered. The silence grew heavier, pressing down like a storm. Finally, one soldier spoke in a low, almost trembling voice. "Sir, we cannot deploy like this." The commander frowned. "What do you mean?" The soldier swallowed hard. "We will not go." "Not without a human." The words fell like thunder. Every alien in the chamber shifted, as if those words carried weight too heavy for the air. The commander's expression hardened. "A human? Do you understand what you are saying?" The soldier nodded, firm now. "Yes, sir. We all understand. We will not step onto that planet unless a human is with us." Murmurs spread through the room. Other soldiers nodded in agreement, some with quiet fear, some with sharp resolve. The commander's jaw clenched. "You are elite fighters. You have trained for years. You carry weapons more powerful than any human could lift. And yet you say you refuse?" Another soldier, older and scarred, raised his head. His voice was steady. "Sir, weapons mean nothing down there. You know what lives on that planet. You know how they move. No calculation, no strategy can prepare us for it. Only a human can see what we cannot." The commander's hand curled into a fist. He wanted to argue, but he could not. He knew the truth of their words. He had seen it before, teams slaughtered because they thought they could fight without one. Still, he tested them. "And if I order you? If I command you to go now?" The room went quiet again, but this time the silence was not fear. It was resistance. Every soldier sat firm, their eyes saying the same thing. "We will not move." The commander stared at them, his chest rising and falling. For a long moment, it seemed like the mission would end before it even began. Then, slowly, the commander exhaled. He tapped a code into the console. The lights flickered, and a door at the far end of the chamber opened. From the shadows, footsteps echoed, heavy, slow, measured. A figure stepped into the light. It was not an alien. It was a human. He wore no shining armor, no glowing weapons, just simple combat gear, scratched and worn from battles that seemed endless. His face was calm, his eyes sharp, scanning the room with a quiet confidence. The soldiers straightened instantly, the tension shifting into something else, respect, and a little fear. The human said nothing at first. He walked to the table, glanced at the holographic map of the ruined planet, then looked at the commander. "Extraction mission," he said, his voice low but steady. "High-value target. Same planet as before?" The commander nodded. "Yes, same planet." The human's eyes narrowed slightly, but he did not look surprised. "Then you know what's waiting there." The commander said nothing. The human finally turned his gaze to the soldiers. His expression was unreadable, but his words were simple. "You want to know why I'm here?" No one answered. The room was silent again, but this time it was not the silence of fear. It was the silence of waiting. The human gave a faint, humorless smile. "You'll see soon enough." The words hung in the air, sharp as a blade. The commander ended the briefing with a single order. "Prepare for descent. The mission begins at dawn." The soldiers rose from their seats. Their steps were heavier than before, but their resolve was clear. With the human now among them, they would move forward. In the corner of the room, one young alien soldier whispered to another, "This is why we never deploy without them." The human did not react. He simply adjusted the strap on his rifle, his calm eyes already fixed on the horrors that awaited below. And so, the mission began, not with pride, not with confidence, but with the weight of a single truth. On that planet, survival was impossible, unless a human led the way. The night before the mission, the base was quiet. Engines hummed in the hangar. Soldiers moved through dim corridors, checking weapons and recharging armor cores. Yet no one spoke much. Their eyes always drifted toward the human. He sat alone on a steel bench, helmet resting beside him. His gear looked ordinary compared to the polished alien armor around him. No glowing shields, no advanced plasma cannons, only a battered rifle, a combat knife, and a few scars across his face. And still, every alien gave him space. They were not afraid of his weapons. They were afraid of what he carried inside, the thing no scanner could measure. The youngest soldier, Rallic, kept staring at him from across the room. Rallic had never fought beside a human before. He had only heard the stories, rumors whispered in training camps, tales of impossible survival, legends of battles won against all odds. Finally, curiosity pushed him forward. He stepped closer and spoke, his voice low. "Human, why do we need you?" The human raised his eyes. They were calm, but sharp, like blades hidden under water. For a long moment he said nothing. Then slowly he answered, "You don't need me," he said quietly. "You need what I do," Rallic frowned. "And what is that?" The human's lips curved into the faintest hint of a smile. "You'll see." Rallic swallowed and stepped back. The words gave no comfort, but somehow they carried weight. When the dawn alarm sounded, the extraction team gathered in the hangar. The dropship loomed before them, its engines glowing like fire in the shadows. The commander stood tall, voice steady as he gave orders. "Remember the mission. Retrieve the diplomat. Secure the area. Do not break formation." The soldiers nodded, though their nerves were tight. The human walked up the ramp last. His steps were slow but confident, as if he had walked into danger many times before and already knew how it would taste. He took a seat at the back, leaning his rifle against his leg. The ship's doors sealed shut. With a roar, the engines lifted them off the ground. Inside the dropship, silence pressed heavy. The soldiers checked their weapons again and again, not because they needed to, but because their hands refused to stay still. The planet below grew larger on the hollow screen. Dark skies, twisted ruins, and shadows that seemed to move even without wind. One soldier muttered under his breath, "Death world!" Another hissed, "Keep quiet." The human sat with his eyes closed, calm as if he were resting. But when the ship shook with turbulence, his eyes opened. He leaned forward slightly and spoke, his voice steady. "When we land, do not hesitate. The shadows will test you. If you panic, you're dead." The aliens glanced at each other. Some looked confused, others alarmed. How did he know what waited there? How could he speak as if he had already seen it? The commander's gaze lingered on the human. He remembered missions past, the times humans had done the impossible. But this one felt different. The dropship pierced through the thick storm-filled clouds. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating the broken surface of the planet. Black towers of stone jutted up like teeth, and rivers of ash cut across the land. The pilot's voice cracked through the speakers. 30 seconds to ground." Every soldier braced themselves. Weapons were ready, armor shields activated. The sound of heavy breathing filled the cabin. The human simply tightened the strap on his rifle and looked toward the ramp door. His expression had not changed. The ship landed with a violent thud, dust and ash swirling around it. The ramp dropped open. The commander shouted, "Move!" The soldiers rushed out, forming a defensive circle. Their eyes scanned the ruins, weapons aimed at every shifting shadow. The air was thick, heavy, and it stank of something rotten, but the human did not rush. He walked down the ramp slowly, calmly, as if he had all the time in the world. His boots pressed into the ash, leaving deep marks behind. He raised his eyes to the black horizon, watching, listening. The aliens waited for him to speak, and finally, he did. "They're already watching us." Every soldier stiffened. Weapons shifted nervously. The commander growled, "You see something?" The human shook his head. "Not see, feel." He tapped his chest. "You'll understand soon." The words were strange, unsettling. The aliens looked to the ruins, but saw nothing. Only silence. Only shadows. Still, none of them doubted him. Not anymore. Far in the ruins, a sound echoed. A faint scrape of stone. Then another. Then silence again. Ralik's throat went dry. He looked at the human, who was standing perfectly still, his hand resting on the hilt of his knife. The human's eyes were locked on the ruins, sharp, unblinking. "They're close," he said softly. The soldiers tensed, gripping their weapons tighter. But the human only smirked. "Good. I hate waiting." That was when the shadows began to move. The dropship hovered above the blackened surface of the planet. Thick ash swirled in the air, carried by gusts of wind that sounded like whispers of death. The ruined city below sprawled like a broken skeleton. Towers collapsed, streets cracked, and smoke spiraled from fires that never seemed to die. Inside the ship, the soldiers braced themselves. Weapons were ready, shields activated, every sense alert, but none of them looked at the human. They did not need to. Their eyes always drifted to him, calm, still, and unshaken. The commander's voice cut through the tension. "Ramps down. Move carefully. Stick to formation. Watch for ambushes." The ramp unfolded with a metallic groan. The air outside rushed in, carrying the stench of ash and decay. The ground below looked unstable, a mix of black rock, broken metal, and pools of strange glowing liquid that seemed to pulse. The human stepped down first. Each step was deliberate, controlled, yet there was a confidence that made the aliens pause and follow his lead. It was like watching someone walk through a storm and remain untouched by it. "Spread out," he said quietly. "But don't break sight of me." The soldiers obeyed, forming a protective circle around him. Their eyes scanned every corner of the ruined city. Every shadow could hide a predator. Every sound could mean death. Ralik, the youngest soldier, kept glancing at the human. How could one person move like this, so calm, so aware? The ruins seemed alive beneath the human's gaze, as if he could feel something the others could not. The human stopped suddenly. His head tilted slightly to the left, ears straining. "Wait!" The soldiers froze. Even the commander's hand tightened around his weapon. The air was quiet, too quiet. A faint hum, almost like electricity, drifted from the ruins. "They're close," the human said. His voice was calm, but there was an edge to it. "They're always close." The commander swallowed hard. "What do you mean?" The human did not answer. He simply moved forward again, his eyes scanning the shadows. Every alien stepped carefully after him, their weapons ready. The first sound came from above, a low, scraping noise. Something large shifted among the ruined towers. Then another noise, faster this time, like claws against stone. "Contact!" the commander whispered. The aliens raised their weapons, firing at the shadows. Bolts of energy cut through the smoky air. The shadows darted and twisted, faster than the soldiers could track. And yet every time a shadow lunged, the human was already there, moving with a speed that seemed impossible. He ducked, rolled, and struck with precise efficiency, hitting nothing and everything. One shadow leapt from a collapsed tower toward Ralik. Before the young soldier could react, the human was there. With a single motion, he grabbed the creature's arm, twisted it, and flung it into the rubble. Ralik barely had time to blink. "They're not natural," one alien muttered. "They move too fast. They think too fast." The human's eyes never left the shadows. "Nothing natural ever survives here," he said. His tone was calm, almost casual, but the words carried the weight of truth. The shadows moved again, faster this time, surrounding them. Bolts of energy and sparks flew. The aliens fired continuously, but the creatures seemed to anticipate every attack. Panic began to creep in. Some soldiers hesitated. One tripped over a broken beam. The human stepped forward. He did not fire. He did not dodge. He moved with precision, striking, blocking, and redirecting. He used the shadows' momentum against them, tossing them into walls, throwing them off balance, and creating paths for the aliens to advance. Ralik could not believe his eyes. How is he doing that? The human glanced back, calm as ever. "Focus on what you can do. I'll handle the rest." Step by step, they advanced through the ruins. Every corner held danger. Every shadow could be the last thing they ever saw. And still, the human moved ahead, unshaken, leading them like a force of nature. Finally, they reached a partially collapsed plaza. The air was thick with ash and dust. The shadows lingered at the edges, watching, waiting. The human crouched slightly, scanning every angle. "They're testing us," he said. "They want to see fear. They want hesitation. They will not stop until they find it," the commander nodded. "Then we give them none." The human straightened, his gaze sharp and commanding. "Follow me. Keep tight." "The target is close." The soldiers obeyed. The shadows did not attack immediately. They watched, waited, like predators circling a lone rabbit. But one thing was clear. Without the human leading them, the aliens would not survive even a single step. The ruined city stretched endlessly before them, dark, deadly, and full of secrets. And somewhere in those shadows, the creatures waited, ready to strike. The human's calm presence was the only thing standing between life and total annihilation, and the aliens knew it. The ruined plaza stretched before them, a maze of broken towers, ash-filled streets, and blackened metal. The alien soldiers moved cautiously, weapons raised, eyes scanning every shadow. But even with their training and advanced technology, fear was creeping in. Something about this place, it was wrong. The human walked at the front, calm, his rifle ready but lowered. He moved like he already knew what was coming. Every step was careful yet confident. The soldiers followed, forming a protective circle around him. Then, without warning, the shadows struck. From the corners of the plaza, monstrous shapes lunged. Dark, fast-moving, almost liquid in motion. They had no faces, only glowing red eyes, claws that could tear metal, and bodies that twisted unnaturally. Screeches echoed through the ruined streets, filling the air with terror. "Ambush!" shouted the commander, firing his energy rifle. Bolts of blue light cut through the smoke, but many shadows dodged, moving with impossible speed. The aliens fought back, but the creatures were relentless. They struck in waves, attacking from above, from the sides, and even from below the broken ground. Panic spread among the soldiers. One soldier tripped and fell, nearly dragged under a clawed arm. The human did not flinch. He stepped forward, his movements precise and fluid. With a single motion, he grabbed a shadow mid-leap, twisted it, and hurled it into the rubble. Another creature lunged from above. He caught it on his shoulder and slammed it into the ground. The aliens watched in awe. Their weapons could barely touch the shadows, yet the human moved through them as if the creatures were nothing more than air. Rallick shouted, "How? How is he doing that?" The human's voice was calm, almost bored. "Focus, watch, learn, don't freeze." Another wave of creatures came. They surrounded the group faster and smarter than before. The aliens fired continuously, but many shots missed. One soldier screamed as a shadow slashed past him, leaving a glowing scratch across his armor. The human moved like a storm. He ducked under attacks, rolled across the ash-covered ground, and struck with deadly precision. His knife flashed, cutting tendons and bones with accuracy no alien weapon could match. "Stay close," he ordered. "Don't scatter!" The soldiers tightened their formation. They followed him instinctively, trusting his calm even as terror clawed at their minds. Every shadow that approached him seemed to hesitate, as if it sensed something different. The human leapt onto a broken wall, scanning the plaza. He raised a hand, signaling a path forward. The soldiers moved quickly behind him, using the human as their shield and guide. One shadow broke through their circle, faster than any before. It lunged at Rallick. In a heartbeat, the human was there, catching the creature's arm and twisting it violently. The shadow shrieked and disappeared into the rubble, leaving the aliens stunned. "They're learning," whispered one soldier. "They know we're here." The human glanced around. "Yes, and they think they can stop us." "They're wrong." A particularly large creature emerged from the shadows, taller than any alien, with claws that could crush armor in a single strike. Its red eyes locked onto the human. The ground trembled as it moved forward, each step heavy and deliberate. The aliens froze. Their weapons seemed useless against such a beast. The human did not flinch. He stepped forward, raising his rifle, not to fire but to distract. The creature lunged. The human dodged with impossible speed, rolling across the ground and striking at the creature's side with a precision knife thrust. The beast howled, staggered, and the aliens could only watch in awe. "It's human instinct," whispered Rallick. "Nothing else can fight like that." The commander realized the truth. Without this human, the team would have been slaughtered in seconds. Every alien weapon, every calculated move was nothing compared to the humans' instinct, courage, and speed. The shadows began to retreat slightly, regrouping. The human stood tall, breathing evenly, scanning the ruins. The alien slowly moved forward again, following his lead. "Keep moving," he said. "The target is close." The ambush was only the first test. The soldiers obeyed, their fear replaced with a new determination. Behind them, the shadows disappeared into the ruins, but their glowing red eyes lingered in the corners, watching, waiting for the next chance. Rallick whispered, almost to himself, "I've never seen anything like this. A human can really survive here." The human didn't respond. He was already moving forward, his calm eyes fixed on the dark horizon. Every step they took was a step closer to the unknown, closer to the target, and deeper into the heart of the planet, where nothing natural had survived before. The soldiers moved cautiously through the ruins, every shadow a potential threat. Their weapons were raised, scanning the blackened streets, but fear clung to them like a second skin. Every footstep echoed unnaturally. Every distant clang set their nerves on edge. The human led the way, calm as ever. His eyes scanned the ruins, sharp and precise, catching movements invisible to the aliens. They tried to follow his gaze, but they could not see what he saw. Something about the human was different, more than instinct, more than training. Rallick, still shaken from the ambush, whispered, "How can he see things we can't?" The older soldier, Cathar, shook his head. "It's not seeing, it's feeling. He knows the danger before it comes." As if on cue, the ruins stirred. Shadows shifted in the distance, moving closer, faster than before. The soldiers raised their weapons, ready to fire, but the human didn't. He simply tilted his head slightly, listening, feeling the vibrations of the ground, the whispers of the wind. "They're approaching from 3 sides," he said calmly. "2 from the left, 1 from behind us. Step to my signal." The soldiers froze. How could he know? There was nothing in sight. No glimmer, no shape, only darkness. Rallick looked at the human. "How do you know that?" The human didn't answer. His eyes scanned the area again, sharp, unblinking. Then, without warning, he sprinted forward. The soldiers followed instinctively. The first shadow lunged from the left. The human sidestepped, grabbed the creature mid-air, and slammed it into the ground. Another shadow attacked from behind. The human twisted, caught its arm, and flung it aside. Every movement was precise, almost graceful, but lethal. The aliens fired their weapons, adding to the chaos, but the human's actions seemed to guide them. Every shot that might have gone astray hit its target, almost as if the human's presence sharpened their aim. Cathar muttered, "It's like he can predict their moves." The human didn't stop. He ducked under a claw, rolled across the ash-covered ground, and came up behind a shadow. In one swift motion, he drove his knife through its core. The creature fell with a shriek that echoed across the ruins. Rallick gasped. "No one can fight like that!" The human glanced back at him. "Watch, learn, survive." Another shadow lunged from the shadows above. The human leapt, twisted in midair, and landed behind it, his body moving faster than the eye could follow. The soldiers watched in awe. It was not strength alone that made him unstoppable. It was his instinct, his awareness, and a strange 6th sense that no alien possessed. Humans. "They adapt," Cathar whispered. "Faster than any of us. Smarter in ways we don't understand." The human's calm gaze swept over the soldiers. "Keep moving. Don't hesitate. Hesitation kills." They advanced, the human leading, as shadows continued to emerge from every corner. The soldiers fired relentlessly, but without him they would have been overwhelmed. With him they moved like a coordinated unit, each step guided by his silent knowledge of danger. Rallick noticed something strange. Every time a shadow tried to attack, the human seemed to anticipate it, countering before the threat even reached him. He didn't just react, he predicted. "How?" Rallick whispered to Cathar. Cathar shook his head. "Instinct? And something more. Something no alien has." The shadows intensified their attacks, yet the human never faltered. His movements were a blur, precise and deadly. He turned the battlefield into a dance of survival, where every step, every strike, every dodge was perfect. Finally, the last shadow of the wave fell. The soldiers were panting, their weapons hot from continuous fire. The humans stood tall, calm, scanning the ruins ahead. "They're learning," he said quietly. "But we're faster, smarter, stronger together." The commander exhaled, lowering his weapon for a moment. He looked at the human, awe and respect clear in his eyes. This is why we never deploy without one of you." The human's eyes remained fixed on the dark horizon. "I don't just fight," he said softly. "I survive. And I make sure you survive too." Rallic stared at him, realizing the truth. It wasn't the weapons, the armor, or the training that made the human indispensable. It was his will, his awareness, his ability to see what no one else could see. And now, as they moved deeper into the ruins, every alien knew the same thing. Without the human, they were as good as dead. But with him, they had a chance. A small flicker of movement caught the human's eye in the distance. A new shadow emerging, larger and faster than anything they had faced so far. His expression didn't change, but the tension in the air thickened. "Get ready," he said quietly. "The real test begins now," and with that, the soldiers followed him into the darkness, the secrets of the human's abilities guiding them deeper into danger, toward a mission that would push them all beyond what they thought was possible. The ruined tower loomed ahead, its jagged walls piercing the stormy sky. Smoke and ash swirled through the streets, and the air was thick with the scent of burning metal. Every step the soldiers took was measured, cautious, as the shadows of the planet crept around them like hungry predators. The target, the diplomat, was held somewhere inside the tower. Their mission was simple in words, but impossible in reality. Retrieve the diplomat alive and leave the death world without losing a single team member. The human walked at the front, calm, scanning every corner, listening to every whisper of wind and vibration in the ground. The aliens followed, tense but steady, trusting his instincts even when logic told them to fear. Rallic glanced at him. "How can one human move like this? How does he know what's waiting for us?" The human didn't answer. He only tightened the strap on his rifle and moved forward. As they approached the tower entrance, the first wave of shadows attacked. They came from every angle, above, behind, and from the rubble at their sides. The aliens fired blindly, but many shots missed. The human was already in motion. He ducked under an attack, spun, and grabbed one creature mid-leap, throwing it into the ashes. Another lunged at Rallic, but the human caught it mid-air and slammed it to the ground. Each movement was precise, measured, perfect. The soldiers followed, inspired. They fired with confidence, knowing the human had already cleared the deadliest threats. The commander muttered, "I've led countless missions, but never like this. He's extraordinary." The human glanced back briefly. "Don't just survive, move, cover each other." Step by step, they advanced toward the inner tower. Shadows attacked in waves, stronger and faster each time. The aliens struggled to keep up, but the human moved among them like a whirlwind of skill and instinct, neutralizing threats with a calm focus that made the impossible look effortless. Finally, they reached the tower entrance. The doors were sealed, reinforced with alien technology. The human stepped forward, assessing the locks and traps. His fingers moved quickly, almost dancing, as he disabled the security systems. The aliens watched in awe. The human wasn't just fighting. They realized he could do things none of them could. Inside the tower was a labyrinth of dark corridors. The diplomat was somewhere in the center, guarded by even more shadows. The air was heavy with tension. "Every corner could hold death. They know we're coming," whispered one soldier. "They're waiting." "Then we give them no hesitation," said the human. His voice was calm, commanding. "Move!" They advanced, every step calculated. Shadows attacked without warning. The aliens fought bravely, but it was the human who led, striking, dodging, and guiding them through the chaos. Every motion was deadly precise. Rallic watched as the human turned the battlefield into a controlled chaos, forcing the shadows to react to him rather than the soldiers. It was like watching a storm obey a single hand. At last they reached the chamber where the diplomat was held. He was bound, unconscious, surrounded by shadows twice the size of any they had faced. The aliens froze, unsure how to proceed. The human stepped forward, calm as always. He assessed the creatures quickly, anticipating every move. With a sudden burst of speed, he engaged the shadows, ducking, striking, and neutralizing them one by one. The aliens followed, covering him, firing at the creatures the human had already weakened. In minutes that felt like hours, the shadows lay defeated, scattered across the chamber. The human rushed to the diplomat, cutting the restraints with a precision knife. The diplomat stirred, eyes wide with fear and relief. "Stay calm," said the human softly. "We're getting you out." The exit was dangerous. The shadows were regrouping, more aggressive than before. The aliens hesitated. "The human did not. Follow me," he shouted. "Keep close. Don't break formation." Step by step, they moved through the tower. Shadows leapt from the walls, but the human was always there, blocking, striking, neutralizing. Every alien instinct was sharpened under his guidance. They finally reached the dropship. The diplomat was safe, but the air around them was alive with threat. Shadows circled the ruins, ready to strike at the last moment. The human took his position at the front, eyes scanning every angle. "Everyone in, move fast." No mistakes. The soldiers obeyed. The diplomat was placed inside, and the human covered the rear. The shadows attacked once more, but he was ready. His precision, speed, and instincts made every strike count. As the dropship lifted off, the aliens exhaled collectively. They had survived. The diplomat was safe. The commander looked at the human, awe and respect in his eyes. This is why we never deploy without one of you." The human's expression remained calm. He didn't speak. He simply watched the planet fade below them. The dropship soared over the blackened landscape, ash swirling below like a storm. Inside, the soldiers finally allowed themselves a moment to breathe. Their weapons were hot, their armor scratched and scorched, but they were alive, and the diplomat was safe. Yet the mission's weight still hung in the air. None of them spoke much. The shadows of the planet's dangers lingered in their minds, and they all knew it had been the human who had kept them alive. Rallic finally broke the silence. "I don't understand. Why us? Why do we need him so badly?" The older soldier, Cathar, shook his head. "It's not the weapons. Not the armor. Not even the training. It's him. Humans. They fight differently. They think differently. And somehow they survive when nothing else can." The commander, sitting at the front, stared silently at the human. The calm figure remained seated, rifle across his lap, eyes scanning the dark clouds outside. No one would guess the storms he had already survived and the battles he had fought. Finally, the human spoke. His voice was calm but carried weight, as if every word had been measured against danger itself. "I'm not special," he said. "I'm human. That's all you need to know," Rallic frowned. "What do you mean? You're not like us. You just survive things no one else can." The human's eyes met his. "You think it's luck or skill, but it's more than that. Humans don't give up. We don't hesitate. We fight when everything says we should run, and that makes all the difference." The commander leaned forward. "So that's it? That's why we never deploy without one of you?" The human nodded slowly. "Yes, you can have every weapon, every strategy, every shield, but none of it matters if someone freezes, hesitates, or doubts. A human doesn't. We push forward. We find the path when none seems possible, and we make sure the team survives." The soldiers listened in silence, understanding finally dawning on them. It wasn't technology. It wasn't numbers. It was willpower, courage, instinct, and something almost unknowable. Rallic's voice was small. "So that's why you survived all those ambushes. Why the shadows couldn't stop you." The human gave a faint, almost grim smile. "Exactly. I survive. And I make sure you survive, too." The dropship shook slightly as it passed through a storm of ash and wind, but the human remained calm, unshaken. He had faced worse, and he would face worse again. The commander finally spoke, his voice quiet but full of respect. "From now on, humans will always be part of our extraction teams. Without one, missions fail. That's the lesson." The human said nothing. He simply adjusted his rifle, scanning the horizon for threats that were already fading into darkness. Cathar shook his head, still in awe. I never thought I'd see it. A human leading us through a place like that and coming out alive. Rallick nodded slowly, understanding now why legends of humans had spread through the galaxy. They were not just fighters. They were survivors. They were unpredictable. They were essential. And now, after witnessing it firsthand, every alien on the ship understood the truth. The humans stood, looking out the window at the planet below. The ruins stretched endlessly, dark and deadly, but empty for now. Yet he knew it would call for them again. Danger never rested. Shadows never slept, but he would be ready. Always ready. The commander finally allowed a small smile. You were right. We needed you. All of us. The human nodded once. And now you know why. A silence followed, filled not with fear but with respect. The diplomat was safe. The team had survived. The mission was a success. And the truth had been revealed. Humans were not just part of the team. They were the team's greatest advantage. As the dropship flew toward the extraction point, Rallick glanced at the human one last time. I hope I can be as brave as you someday. The human's eyes softened slightly. You will. But never forget, courage is only part of it. Never hesitate, never doubt. That's what keeps you alive here. Outside, the planet faded into darkness. Shadows remained, waiting. The galaxy had many dangers, many deadly worlds. But for the aliens who had just survived, one truth was clear. They would never deploy without a human again, because humans did not just fight. Humans survived, and in the galaxy, survival was everything.